Hey, 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 it's Kimberly Smith Austin. I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Made to Inspire podcast. I am here today with my awesome and amazing co host, Misty Kerrigan. Hey, Misty.
Hey, Kimberly, it looks like you're out in the field today
I am out and about today.
over at one of our favorite places to be, the Hera Hub. You've
That's
heard about it
right.
on a few of our episodes, and to connect it back, it's all about getting out and connections. So, what we wanted to do in this amazing new year, 2023. Hey, have you wrote the date wrong yet? Have you put 2022
I
yet?
don't know that I've written the date yet.
My biggest thing is always that first month getting that 2023 in. Can you believe
That's
it?
right. Yes, yes, that's always a challenge.
So I'm super excited because I read a study, and it turns out I am guilty of this, is sometimes I do a lot of visioning and excitement and planning, and I
Mhm.
kind of forget to take an introspective look on the last year. I just start running and get excited for what is 2023 going to look like? What are the things that I want? And I miss out on a key step. Do you ever do that?
Yes and no. Yes and no. When I get eager and excited about a vision or something I want to do, yes, I get in the trenches and start running without really reflecting on what happened or what could be or what should I be warned of, what's in the backdrop that might present challenges. So, yes and no. Typically, I love to do that Sunday review and just kind
Mm.
of look back on a weekly basis. What's going on? What have I done? What haven't I done? Where did I do exceptionally well? And what are areas of improvement? But when I get gung ho about things, yes, I will run without looking back.
I love that you mentioned that, because I was going to mention that in a lot of the programs that we create and a lot of the programs you have, you really are really good about, you really are really good on it. You're really good about remembering review. It's in
Yes.
fact, it's in our book. It's in a couple of the things when we coach, but that review part kind of, it comes with the territory of your last 20 plus years in working in the businesses and looking at where we were to know where we want to go and what's going to help us. And so
That's
the
right.
crazy part is taking that now into that next level for you yourself personally and your business and or your career or kind of leadership sort of path. And so
Yeah.
the first thing that we wanted to do today was kind of go into, what does an introspect really look like? And there's a scientific way to review 2022. Did you know that? A scientific way that you look at something?
Yes, yes, I do. And before we get into that, I want to say this term that people hear and really think about how it relates. There's an expression that says, know thyself.
Mm.
Know thyself. And the only way you can know thyself, you can't know yourself looking forward, you have to look back. I just told someone yesterday, it's amazing how we live life. It's all forward. Our body is designed forward. Our feet go forward. Our arms, ears, mouth, nose is all forward, but we don't completely get a real good understanding until we take a look back. So it's so often that we forget that look back. And I also tell people that when they're going through tough times and if they're faith driven people, I remind them, I say, you don't need a nice incident to happen. What you need is a memory to reflect back and see what has happened and use that as a part of your moving forward strategy.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, you could also taint memories with the mood that you're in the future that it
Correct.
shows us. And so one of the common things that people do is they'll bring the memory and the emotion and they'll move it into their future, and then that adds to their fear. So there
Absolutely.
is definitely a great way to be able to turn around without bringing it into the future and almost hindering you. So I think it's a great balance, like you were talking about. And I love that thing that you're looking at, is a sense of, I really could focus on stopping and turning around. So
Yeah.
like having that, okay, like how do you do that metaphorically when you're sitting in your home with your journal and your pen?
Right.
So the first thing in that, in knowing thyself, is to set yourself up in a space to be able to turn around and look without being attached to it emotionally and then getting all lost and frustrated in it. So there's a
Mhm.
first couple of questions to get yourself and your brain waves moving into strength-based. We call that in the mental health field, strength-based review. And a strength-based review Doesn't mean we're not going to look at some of the areas of struggle or lessons learned. It just means we're starting in that space of what are the strengths. And one of the things we talk about all the time is being grateful.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
One of the things to look at in 2022 is, well, we'll do it here for you guys, is Kimberly, in 2022, what are a couple things that you're grateful for?
My family, my friends, shelter over my head, financial resources that allow me to do the things that I desired, things that I needed to do. Those are some of the key new business connections. I talked about family and friend, but new business connections that I made this year that allowed me to step into a new place. So there's so much to be grateful for. I'm grateful for my health. You know, without my health, I could not be this crazy woman doing the things that I do. And so there's a lot for me to be grateful for. And I write it on this little 3x5 index card, and I stick
Yes.
it on my mirror, and I look at it on a weekly basis and go, boom, 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 boom. Okay. And then next week I'll refresh and put a new set up there.
So I love that what you're just taught was an amazing strategy. And it probably is part of the pieces of the puzzle that make you who you are, which is insanely energetic and excited. If we were to
Don't
describe
forget
it
crazy.
with words, crazy.
Mhm.
I'm not going to forget crazy, but even doing something as grabbing some Post-its, writing 3 things you're grateful for, and putting them on your mirror so that you could reflect in them and then changing them is an amazing tip. A little extra today, guys. So one of the great parts I remember is in 2021, we were reviewing the year, Kimberly, and you talked about wanting to spend more time with family and not just kind of work, work, work. And looking at, you know, like it's been a while since you had taken those long vacations and got to kind of spend some family time. And in 2022, I remember in January, you put some stuff already into the future. You already had some things planned, like a week going to celebrate your mom and the different things that you did, and taking your whole family, your daughter, niece, daughter, cousin, niece,
Yep.
and her family. But it was kind of great to see this kind of moving in action. Is you looked at 2021 and you put some stuff in 2022, and then now in 2023, that's one of the main things that you're most grateful for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that comes along with, you know, just the travel more. I used to travel 30 to 35 weeks a year, all business travel. But now that I'm in a different season in my life, I've made it about my friends and my family. Just came back from a trip from, it was supposed to be New Mexico. It ended up Tucson, Arizona. And you know what? Sometimes the detours in life are your greatest adventures. Made it a great adventure and had an outstanding time in Tucson with my friends.
I love that. Sometimes your detours are your greatest adventure.
That's right.
Love,
You'll
so
see that
that'll
live.
be
You'll
in
see
the
that
quotes
post live
too.
today.
So what are the 3 things that you accomplished that you're most proud of? And answering these questions at home too, or in your car thinking of it. But if you can write it down, write it down. But we'll also have a resources in when you click into our
Show notes in the show notes.
in our
Yep.
show notes, we'll have the resource for you so that you can follow along. But right now, follow along with us. Is what are 3 accomplishments you're most proud of?
And I'm going to reverse that question because I've done a little talking. How about you answer that, Misty? What are the 3 accomplishments you've had this year that you're most proud of?
It's so cool. I got to answer that when I trained this the other day. And one of the main ones that'll still remain the main one is I got married.
Woohoo!
And that was in process for many, many years. So tying the knot was something I was excited about because we set the date and we took care of everything. And now we got an amazing memory. The other 2 things are starting my S Corp. Excited about that.
Yay.
And then the third thing is I made a commitment, and I love this because one of the accomplishments is commitments for me is saying what I'm going to do and doing what I'm going to say. And I said I was going to go to all 4 Rainmakers, which is amazing business. And I got the other accomplishment was having you come to one.
Woohoo!
So I got to go to all 4 of them. Then I got to share it with getting to have you in Vegas was an amazing time.
Yes. That was outstanding. And I made a commitment that I would come. It was a different one. Didn't happen, but listen, we finished out the year strong. And so that was exciting. And that was really a highlight. We finished out in the last month of the year. And here's the thing I tell people all the time, you set goals and visions and plans and intentions for your life. Don't give up because they didn't happen on the day that you decided it would. There's so much month, so many days, weeks, and year left. Don't lose sight of that goal or that ambition for yourself. And instead, sometimes you have to move the needle to the left or to the right. You may have to adjust the goal to ensure that you still get there. It may look different, but you accomplished what you set out for.
And I just heard that on a podcast the other day. At some of these, they were doing really famous wealthy guys, and they're talking about maybe their goals don't hit the specific date, but that doesn't deter them. They really
right.
Continue to move forward towards them. So now that we have accomplishments and we're in kind of a good mood, like, yeah, what was strong in 22, one of the things to also look at is, where were some struggles? What did you face this year? And most importantly, what lessons did they teach you? What did you learn from them that could help you know thyself better?
Yes, yes. I'll use one from this past week. I mean, it was, maybe I can't use it because it's 2023 already.
We wouldn't
But
know.
I'll use it as an example, as if
Okay.
it happened in 2022. Went off on an RV experience, exploration journey with friends. And one person responsible for checking the RV, making sure it was all set, ready to go. Other person responsible for food. Other person was responsible for parking, navigation, all that great stuff. And we
Nice.
worked together to make sure that this was a fabulous trip. We got on the road, we were hunky-dory, having a good time down the road, and probably about 6 hours down the road, the wheels of the RV just started swaying left and right and left and right. And the driver, who also is the owner, did not feel comfortable. She was not comfortable, decided to pull off the side of the road. And we ended up not making it to our destination in New Mexico, but instead ended up in Tucson. And with that Tucson living place for the next 2.5 days, we decided to make the most of it. But in that time, I did what I've always done. As a management consultant, every single project that I've taken a part of, there's always a lessons learned. What could we have done? What did we do well, first and foremost?
Nice. I want to pause you right there, because you just nailed it. You even stopped yourself in the mid thing, was starting with the strengths and then moving in. Nicely done.
Absolutely. Because that's where you want to start and reflect on that. And you want to give ample time for everyone in that community, whether it's a workplace, whether it's your staff, your family, to give their input. I'll add to that as well. That same philosophy takes place in Boy Scouts. I'm a Boy Scouts assistant scoutmaster, and we have what we call roses, buds, and thornbush. I can't remember the name, but roses is what went well. We always end the camp out with what went well, because we want to reflect on what went well. Roses. And I think you do that. Roses, buds, thornbush. Roses, I can't think of it. So the whole concept was what went well, what wasn't so great, and what are you looking forward to? What are you looking forward to? Which is the same philosophy we're using for today's podcast. When you look at your life, when you look at your business, look at your goals and ambition, you're looking at those three things, as they will play a role in how you forge ahead.
Now, the lesson learned, what was the lesson learned from the weekend?
Well, the lesson from the weekend for us was, she had them do a look over, but they did not do maybe a thorough enough review, and I even had a secondary talk with Christina. I said, well, when you take in a vehicle and say, I'm hitting the road for 1,000 miles, you can't just say, look at the tires, look at the oils, look at the fluids, it's fine. It has to be a little bit more. It has to be a little bit more. And so recognizing that little bit more. Unfortunately, we left the RV in Arizona, and we got a rental car and drove back home. We couldn't get a flight, so we got in the rental car and drove back home. 2 separate cars, because 2 separate timelines, but we made it happen. And even in all of that, we reflected on the joy we had. We experienced Tucson. We went to 2 national parks. We went to Botanical Garden, had food, had real conversation. Absolutely amazing.
I love how you guys still made the best out of the trip, even though the destination changed. If the intention was still there on what the whole purpose was. And you said something really important, because I think sometimes even in business we do this, we give it a once over and not a thorough review. And so sometimes if something is that important, like you said, is to kind of know the difference between a kick the tires and an actual test the tires. And so that's a great lesson to take into 2023, and really looking at, when you have those bigger things, those bigger projects, is where's that where's the time I'm taking, and how do I know that this is a thorough job that I'm doing on that. I love that.
That's great.
So now that we have a lesson, and my lesson from this year is the when you set your schedule, when you already put it in your future, you're more likely to do it. So the decisiveness of once I got the calendar out, and we've already did this in the last week of 2022, we took out our calendars and we just wrote in the things that we're going to accomplish this year. And so I think that was a big lesson, so that you don't maybe something that's written in there.
That's
You
right.
really have that, like, I made a commitment so that my decisiveness is going to help my focus. So
Yes.
now that we kind of have our lessons, the next question is, and this is our favorite now after our introspection, is our prospection, is what do you want in 2023? There's something about the freshness of it being January, right? And that renewal, and it's the new year. What gets you excited and fired up for 2023?
Well, I think about our mission, one of the missions here at Made to Inspire, and based on our starting the year off or ending the year off with some goals, our theme for this year is intentional. In 10, the number intentional. And I had a vision helping 10,000 people transform their lives, build their businesses, expand their businesses, grow their product line and services, build out that podcast, the book, whatever they're looking for. 10,000 people, Misty. That's how many people I see us impacting this year. And we're going to do that by way of 5 to 6 programs that we offer in the marketplace, starting with our 5-day challenge that kicks off the last week, the last Monday of January. And I know that 10,000 is possible. In a world of 7.6 billion people, 10,000 is only a little drop in the pond.
You know, it's so funny
intentional.
You say that. I was reviewing my things again and looking at what it is that I want, and is it still there? Because I like to take review too. And I was trying to think of what excites me, like what gets me the most passionate. And it was when we always talk about people taking things to the grave. That, you know, the richest place on earth is the grave, and people die with their vision, their songs, their mission there, and what that impact could have been. And so listening to what you said gets me more excited, because there's so many people out there that have a little idea, a little spark, but sometimes just don't know what to do with it.
Yes.
I know it'll change the world, but where do I start? Or what is the team I have? You know, like the things that the community that I have, the structure. And so my word this year is details.
Nice.
What are the details so that we can ensure that we are successful? What are the things that made someone else successful, or that someone else, we always say, you don't invent anything. Everything is already there. So there's usually someone already at where you want to be. And it really is looking at, well, what are the steps they took to get there?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do I duplicate those steps, or even innovate those steps to be able to do the same and have even greater results?
Absolutely. You know, there's nothing new under the sun, and we recognize that. And even though there's nothing new, don't fear the idea that your idea is still powerful, it's still valuable, and it still can make an impact in the world. So we have to get ourselves in a position to say, you know what, my ideas, my thoughts, my vision matters. I'm ready to do the steps that it's necessary for me to get to that next place. And that's what we are passionate about helping people do as we go into 2023 and beyond.
I love the beyond. So now we have the goal. Let's our big vision is to impact 10,000 lives.
That's right.
And breathe life back into passion and purpose. And one of my other favorite words is excellence. Having that taking care of yourself while you're taking care of your idea. And I love it because you always have this baby vision version of the 360 woman, like the woman that has the amazing family and the amazing career or business and the kids and the travel and the just having the health, mental, physical. And so that vision that you had led to a baby seed idea. And now that idea is about to be rebirthed into a 2023. Tell us about it.
The Empowerment and Wellness Conference. That's coming up, ladies. Empowered Women in Wellness Conference, March 18th. Mark your calendar, save the date right now, because we're going to talk about physical, mental, spiritual. We're going to talk about your businesses, your visions, your ideas, your goals, your passions, and we're going to set you on fire. Now, what I love is that we're not going to just set you on fire, but we're going to keep the fire aflame throughout the year. See, that's what I feel like conferences do. They get you fired up and ready to go, and you're on fire for a week, and then something happens. We're building a community that will allow you to keep going, keep going. You're going to keep running so that you can become a better me in 2023.
I love that. And now putting it all together, step 3 is close the gap. We know we want to impact 10,000 individuals. We know that there's going to be a huge conference in March. So taking the 2 lessons of details,
yes,
and kicking the tires versus taking that really good inspection of it, how do we plan more success with knowing where our strengths and our areas of growth were in 2022?
You know, one of the things I think about, the first thing I think about is knowing where we've been and where we want to go. There's that gap. We have to figure out how do we close it. And I like to do reverse engineering. I like to go backwards, look at those numbers and say, okay, this is what I need, and this is what I've done so far. How do I get in that in between? And you mentioned something very, very good. Number 1 is excellence. Number 2 is detail. We need those 2 things in place in order to get from point A to Z. There is no in between without that detail. We have to create that plan, and we have to be active in moving forward, even when we don't feel like it. You know, I'll mention my favorite thing, being interested versus committed. Interested in serving 10,000 or committed to serving 10,000. Interested says, you know, Misty, you know, I was tired, I was traveling, I got home late, and I just didn't get around to it. Committed says, Misty, we set a goal today, this month, we must serve 1,000 people. We must serve 800 people. How do we do that? How do we take something, a giant elephant of 10,000, and break it down into small bite-sized pieces? And we know that it's one woman, one person, one man, one business, one culture at a time. But we have to be intentional in how we lay our eggs. We have to be intentional, reaching out to organizations, reaching out to individuals, providing opportunities for people to partake in our products and our services, whether it's reading a book or attending a conference, attending a camp, being a part of the challenge. We have to make sure that our ducks are in the row. If they're not in the row, that 10,000 number is just a number. It's just a number. It has no meaning. It has no value because it has no legs to it.
I think you nailed the one thing, is the measure the gap. So how do we measure weekly? How do we measure monthly? How do we measure quarterly the number of people, so we know how close we are to that number? Even if the first week it's 100 and we're shooting for 500, we still know it's 100. And then we could go back and look at what was the gap between the 400, what happened there, and then continue it as you go. But I think sometimes people get married to the outcome, and then they get disappointed and quit. Oh, I was going to, you know, impact 10,000 people and I only impacted 500. So maybe that's not for me. Instead of looking at what was it that I did to impact the 500, and where do I increase that, or what do I need to do differently? And emotion is powerful. Emotion, like you said, and I love it, is sometimes you're not going to feel like it. But that's why, if your dreams and your aspirations are bigger than your emotion, you don't care if you feel like it. You just do it anyway. We've interviewed lots of people, including Kimberly, who work out all the time. And the secret is they don't want to work out all the time. They just work out all the time. It doesn't matter they don't want to. And some of that main difference is they don't care what they want. They made a commitment. They're going to go up and get it anyway.
That's right. You know, I want to add to that, because last night I had a full day in the office all day. Then I had to go out for a couple appointments, meetings that ran a lot longer than I planned, both of them. And then I got home at 9:00 p.m. And I realized I had not done my daily miles. And of course, it's cold.
It was freezing last night.
It was cold, but the dog is looking at me like, hey, 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 I know it's time. And, you know, I said, I could run on the treadmill at home. And you know what I did? When I went up to take off my clothes, I immediately just put the workout clothes on. Just go, just go, just go. You know, and what I recognize is that my intent was I could go out and do just a mile. But here's what happens when you get in action. And I'm got to sit up for this one.
Yeah,
Because
that's
when you
how you
get
sit
in
up.
action and you start building on something, you create this thing called momentum. And when you are in momentum, it's hard to break the momentum. You have a train operating or moving at 200 miles per hour. You can't break that train. Anything that stands in that way is going to be crushed and crashed. And when you recognize giving yourself the chance, putting on those shoes, getting into work, making those sales calls, creating that project, that program, that vision, once you get in, it's hard to break it. But that's what I recognized for myself a long time ago. Just do it. Just do it and allow your body to get into that place once you get there. So my 1 mile or 2 mile turned into 5 miles, and then I
It
wasn't
always
done. I
expands.
was like, I want more. But now it's 10 something. And I'm like, yeah, I probably need to go in the house at this time.
Well, I think the craziest part is, you nailed it. It's not the big decisions, it's the little micro decisions that determine our life. Like the micro decision you did to put on a jacket and shoes led to the next decision to grab the dog, led to the next decision to leave the house. So it's
Right.
the micro ones. Natalie called last night really late. It was like 7. And she's like, what do you want to do for dinner? And I'm like, you could pick something up. And then the whole thing was, well, do we want to eat out? We made a commitment to not eat out. What's here? What's at home? And I said, oh, I'll throw chicken in the air fryer and let's do a salad. And
There
it
you
was one of
go.
the best salads ever. And I was teasing her because I was like, we were really close to Del Taco and going back on the things that was important to us
Right.
because we were tired and didn't prep today. But
That's right.
it was the whole, do I want to continue to eat out and feel how I feel? Or am I going to make that little micro decision that I could cook at home and it's going to be better? And with prices right now, it's going to be way better to save that money than eating out. But I think it's so funny in the same position, just as getting momentum to that next step was, I just stood up and put the chicken in the air fryer and the rest. Then I did that. Then it wasn't that the whole dinner was made. It was really, I got the chicken
One
out.
baby step.
You put your shoes on. And then that just momentums you to getting the results that you intend and intentionally want for yourself. That's so
right.
good.
We just have to get ourselves to that place. And even when we don't want to, just do it. pick up the shoe, pick up the phone, pick it up and go to work. Because I guarantee you, you'll produce more than you thought possible.
I think so. Add that to our book list, even when you don't want to.
That's right. You do it anyway. And those are the masters of their time. Those are the masters in the world today. People who, despite what they feel, despite their emotional position at that time, they sacrifice all of that and they take a step. They take a step. I cannot explain that. I live that. And for those that live it, understand it, those who don't, I want to challenge you. Just take one step, one move. Micro decisions will change it forever.
So good.
I'm so fired up right now. I'm ready to make one move.
I love that. Is what's your one move today in your health, in your wealth, in your 2023? What is the one micro move you could make today to start that momentum and get that train going?
Yeah. Oh, I think that's a new book. You know, there's the one thing and that's do one more thing. I think ours is the one move. What's your one move? Or what is it? What is it? I'm fired up, Misty.
Now we're ready. We got to go, guys. Sorry, we're going to go write a book.
I know, we're out of here. So, Misty, with all that being said, let's give them some action items to wrap this up so they can get in motion and really get their 2023 started with a bang. We're already in the second full week of the year, and we want you to set yourself up for success. Set yourself up for success. And with these 3 action items, we believe you'll be able to do so. What's number 1, Misty?
Find some quiet space and answer the questions we talked about today. What were you grateful for? What was some amazing successes? What were some lessons learned, and what are those struggles? And there's some more questions that can come into that. We will definitely have it in our notes. We'll even give you the thing for free. Download the questions that we answered today. What the heck? We want to start with you when we start with our 10,000, and just take some time with this workbook and answer the questions. And then step 2 is get excited about 2023 and start writing down your big visions. And even in the workbook, it talks about write it in December of 2023, like it already happened and you're grateful for it.
That's right.
We're just dropping nuggets left and right today. And then after you have your 2023, what you learned in 2022, as Kimberly said, reverse engineer it and close the gap. What lessons now from 2022 can I even make me more successful in reaching my results in 2023? Right. And
we want you to
step 4, do something today.
Today, what's your one move? What's your one move you're going to do today? Even if the move is picking up, downloading that workbook from our show notes. Maybe that one move is writing that first thing from what happened in the past. Your one move, it's something that can transform your life. And we know that as business owners, entrepreneurs, emerging leaders, we all have something that we desire and want for our lives. And when we recognize that and truly take the time to reflect on it and do the work, it can happen. I always say this, everything is possible. I believe that everything is possible. And it goes to this, to those that believe. To those that believe. If you believe it's possible, you can't believe without doing the work. So you put those things together, watch, and wait for the magic to happen. It's bound to happen. So as we say here every single week, guys, we hope you're excited. There's something out there waiting for you.
Now go get it.